Welcome to another edition of In Between the Lines with D9and10Sports.com. I'm Chris Rossetti. He's Andy Close. We're here on another Zoom call for this edition of In Between the Lines. Welcome on, Andy.
Chris, good to be here. It's hard to believe we're already, we got sports going. We got golf. We got tennis in full swing. Next week we're going to have football, and just really, really getting excited about the fall season to come.
It's really great that this is all getting ready to start. Hey, the In Between the Lines is brought to you by the Rehab Center, the Computer Guru, and All-American Awards and Engraving. The Rehab Center, chiropractors caring for health, with 6 locations, including Brookville, Clarion, Kittanning, Apollo, Lower Borough, and the north side of Pittsburgh. Call them today for an appointment at 724-478-1501 and visit them online at therehabcenters.com. That's centers with an R-E-S, the old English way. All-American Awards and Engraving is located at 511 Main Street in Shippenville. All-American Awards and Engraving is your place for the highest quality of awards, engravings, and embroidery. Since 2004, at All-American Awards and Engraving, we will put almost anything on almost everything. Check us out online at www.allamericanhq.com or call us today at 877-402-9273. Andy, we just put in an order with All-American Awards and Engraving for some face masks and some polo shirts. Can't wait for those to come in here in a couple of weeks. Jim Carroll, his daughter Eva, the entire staff up there at All-American Awards and Engraving, just fantastic people to work with.
Yep, we're really excited to work with and to partner with All-American Awards and Engraving. They've been great to us, not only with, like you said, getting us the shirts and the face masks, but just a great supporter of local high school athletics, and we look forward to our continued relationship with them.
Also being brought to you by the Computer Guru and Leaper. Need computer help? Looking to buy a new computer or other tech gear? Want help getting setting up a personal or business network? Then call Terry Dryhop, the Computer Guru and Leaper, PA. You can stop in at their shop at 1204 Tylersburg Road in Leaper, or they can come to you. Call the Computer Guru today at 814-744-7580. Make an appointment or visit the Computer Guru on the net at thecomputerguru.net. Going to get some computer stuff done so that we can do some of our broadcasts too up there at the Computer Guru. Terry Dryhop, another great guy. And heck, I was just over the Rehab Center the other day too, Andy. All 3 of these sponsors have been fantastic to us and helping us bring this inside the line segment to you. So special thanks to all of them. Andy, let's get going with our with some stuff. Some exciting news over in District 10 golf action yesterday.
Yeah, like I said, golf was in full swing. Mega match, Region 1 match yesterday, Hickory's Mackenzie Gustus. Big shout out, a school record 67. Wow. I read that. I had to read it again to make sure that was correct. But boy, Hickory's got quite a girls golf team over there. A couple, 2 more in the 70s. They're just rolling along here in the early part of the season. Also in District 10 boys golf, Cathedral Prep had a couple guys in the 70s. They won the North Hills Invite over in Corey. So some really, really impressive stuff to start the season here in golf. And of course we have tennis in full swing, District 9, District 10 schools, both, getting out in full force this week. So just a lot of excitement all around.
Yeah, it was good to start to be able to talk a little bit about sports. And, you had Villa Maria in tennis yesterday coming up with a big win, rivalry win over Erie. You had Oil City with a big rivalry win over Franklin. And then you had DuBois with a rivalry win over Brockway. So some rivalry things right out of the gate, which is, you're going to see a little bit more of the rivalries, so to speak, this year in different sports because, in District 10, they've reduced the region sizes. That information came out on Monday. Were there any surprises to you in the way that the region setup was? Let's talk football, first of all, obviously. The fact that teams were playing each other a couple times. I think we saw that coming, though, didn't we?
We did. And to be honest with you, I like it. It's different. It's we knew it was going to be different, with everything going on. But again, the regions are kind of redone, really geographic and school size specific. You're going to have teams playing each other twice. Like you said, in a lot of cases, rivalry games, which I think is fantastic. I mean, most of these, in a lot of cases in football, these schools still play each other, but in some cases they don't. So you're getting back to this, to see, for instance, of Franklin Oil City, some of these traditional matchups that people like to see. I think it's fantastic. I love it.
Yeah, I do too in a lot of ways. I will be interested to see if we do get to the postseason, how some things shake out, how they determine who goes, who doesn't go, and all that. That'll be, hopefully we get to even talk about the postseason. As we saw this week in Warren, the football program shut down for a temporary, still to be determined amount of time because of a COVID-19 positive case. And they're the first that we've seen in the District 9, District 10 region once practice started, but I'm sure they're not going to be the last. And it'll be interesting to see how all of that works out. Lucky for their first game opponent, Titusville was able to pick up Meadville, as Meadville didn't already have a game that week because of the Conneaut School District, or whatever the actual school district, where the school district that Conneaut High School is located in, deciding to not play this week, or that not this week, but next week in that first week, and waiting that extra week, kind of like that IU9 bubble in District 9 is doing. So Meadville had the week off, so Titusville was able to pick up a game, which is fortunate for them because, the thing is that you're going to have teams affected by COVID-19 that may not be directly affected within their team situation, but because of another school having a situation arise, they're not going to be able to play as well. So I'm glad for those kids that they were able to pick up that. And I was also glad that Northeast was able to find a scrimmage this week with Sagertown because they were supposed to scrimmage for it. So it was nice to see that those teams were able to pick it up. There's going to be a lot of that going on where athletic directors are going to have to be working on their feet a lot, so to speak, moving around as things change and all of that. Definitely not a time that I'd love to be an athletic director for sure, because, there's changing rules, changing regulations, games getting canceled, games getting added. It's not an easy time.
No, it's not. I got to give another shout out to the ADs. They've been very proactive. They know what the situation is. We know this is going to happen. Warren just happened to be the first school to be affected by it, so to speak. And I talked with head coach Mark Morelli, and he was obviously disappointed because their kids, like so many other kids, throughout District 10, District 9, just working, incredibly hard, doing all the right things. And the thing is, too, this is nobody's fault. This is going to happen. We're dealing with a highly contagious virus. But to your point, Chris, they won't be the last school to deal with this.
Are schools being overly cautious?
I think that it's important. Probably, but I don't blame them.
I'm not saying I blame them.
Though I've preached, a business as usual approach that we should get back to normal as much as we can. But I understand the predicament that this puts school districts in, that this puts, athletic teams in. It's not necessarily easy to navigate. And I think the districts, from the most part, from what I've seen, have done just an outstanding job of being proactive, being adaptable to what is going to be, let's face it, an ever evolving situation throughout the fall.
Should the PIAA have considered changing the quote unquote number of practices you had to have before you were able to play a game because of some of these situations? Like, is it fair that Warren could possibly be out and miss 2 of a 6-week football season because of something that happened in late August, early September? They're going to have to sit out this week, and they may have to sit out next week, and then sit out the following week as they're practicing to get to a certain number of practice days. How much sense does some of that make?
Listen, the PIAA probably could have reduced the number of practices needed. And I think if you talk to coaches, I think they'd probably tell you the same thing. These kids, have been preparing, all summer, in some cases long before that, for this season. I think you saw it with news this week of the Big Ten trying to maybe get going earlier than expected, these coaches said, we've been preparing, we could play tomorrow. And I'm sure you talk to most of the coaches, they feel the same way. So to answer your question, I think, yeah, probably. Probably they could have been given a little more leeway to these schools, but on the other hand, there are rules, procedures, guidelines in place for a reason, and they're in place for the health and safety of the student athletes. So while I may not agree with it, I do get it.
Yeah, the Governor Wolf this week slipped in the fact that spectators will be allowed to go to events. First of all, let's talk about the way it was announced or how it wasn't announced. So much of what we're not allowed to do has been announced via press conferences and stuff. And then in this case, it was sort of slipped into the rules of that. Oh, hey, spectators can be allowed, but still only up to the 250 and 25 indoor limits. 250 outdoor, 25 indoor. First of all, your take on how it was announced. Not to get political here. I don't care what party the guy's from. I just don't think that's real great leadership. If you're going to say, hey, fans can be allowed, then you should be proud of the fact that you've now changed your mind and allowed fans to be allowed. Why the sneaky way that Governor Wolf's administration did this?
I don't know. I think it's kind of how they've handled a lot of things throughout this process with the PIAA. When Governor Wolf came out with his recommendation of no sports until January, you'll remember, he just kind of slipped it in at the end of a press conference. And while the PIAA might not have been caught off guard, I know a lot of coaches, a lot of administrators were caught off guard. So my reaction to it is I'm not surprised. This is kind of par for the course of how they handle things with interscholastic sports and the PIAA. So I'm not surprised one bit.
There's been a lot of talk that it happened because of the bill in the House of Representatives, Bill 2787, that would allow school districts to make their own decisions. I think something that nobody's really talking about, and I reached out to a state representative, have not heard back yet, about Bill 2787. It's great that you say Oil City, oh, hey, you can decide how many students you want. It's great that you say to Meadville, hey, you can decide how many fans you want into the stadium. But that doesn't change the fact that Pennsylvania still has the regulation of 250 outdoor and 25 indoor, does it?
No, and to that point, it's whatever's the lesser two numbers, the 250 rule or the 50% rule, which in most cases is going to be the 250 rule.
Well, again, though, that's a whole different subject. I'm talking about the fact that you can tell a school district, hey, you can decide how many fans you want in. That it's not the state telling you it's 250. But what becomes the law? Is the law the fact that school districts can decide that a school district can decide to have 5,000 people when the state regulations still say that you only are allowed 250 people at any outdoor gathering? You read the bill and it doesn't really act like it exempts anybody from the 250. It just says that within the laws and regulations that are currently in place. So I think that Senate Bill 2787 might be more of a PR thing than something that is actually going to change how many people are actually in at the end. And I don't think enough people understand that. And again, I reached out to a state representative, hadn't heard back because I'm trying to get some clarification on that, Andy. The fact of the matter is you can still only have a wedding with 250 people.
Yeah. If it's a PR move, it's an awfully good one. Listen, parents throughout the state have been very vocal. They want to be able to watch their kids play. So as far as being a politician go, what could you do right now that would gain you more good favor than something like this? But I mean, it's really it's really brilliant when you think about it.
What's going to happen though is that this might pass, and then everybody's all excited that they can all go to a high school football game, and then find out that they can't. So I guess that's my concern. Is it's got the potential to lead to a lot more disappointment than actually fixing something. I think the one thing it did do was it did at least open up the gates for a certain amount of fans. But I was talking to an AD at a bigger school today, And that AD was telling me that once you take the cheerleaders, the football team, the opposing football team, the officials, the band, and all that, they're already over 250, so they're not going to be able to bring any fans in right now as things stand. There's other schools that are looking at it and going at football, geez, I can't do this. So I don't know if this isn't, it's good news, but I don't think it's the great news that it's been turned out to be in a lot of ways. That you're still going to have a lot of situations where even parents aren't going to be able to get in to events and so forth. So there's still a lot of work to be done. Don't anybody think that the fight over fans in the stands has been won, because with this, or even with 2787, it's just not the case, is it?
No, it's not. And again, not to get political, but that's what Governor Wolf did was actually very smart, because a lot of media outlets are going to run with the headlines, "Oh, Governor Wolf lifts ban on no fans," and people did just look at the headline and were like, "Oh my God, that's great! I can go to my son or daughter's sporting event." But the reality is, it's not that simple. To your point, it's still, in most places, you're still going to see a very restrictive environment that parents still might not be able to get to games.
Well, let's be honest. This rule is much better for the parent of the tennis player, the soccer player, the cross country athlete, the water. I'm not even really water polo and volleyball, because those are still inside, and they've got a whole other issue there. But for the outside sports that aren't football, this is fantastic news, because
Oh,
most often those events don't attract 250 total people. So for those parents and those fans, this move is fantastic. For football, it creates a lot more headaches, I think, than solutions at the end of the day.
It does. And again, I think what you're going to see is school districts are going to have to kind of grab the bull by the horns once again, like they've been doing throughout this whole process, and either leave it up, if you can have any room for parents, leave it up to the individual kid. Like, hey, I can leave one ticket or I can leave two tickets. But to your point, at the bigger schools, it's still going to be, football wise anyway, very difficult to get fans in the stands.
Hey, Andy, before we go, I want to make an exciting announcement for D9and10Sports.com. We're going to be broadcasting 2 live sporting events next week, audio broadcasts of them. The first one will be on Thursday. Of course, this one's going to be probably weather permitting on Thursday afternoon around 3:30. I say around 3:30 because you don't ever quite know exactly when a tennis match is going to start. We're going to have maybe what might be a District 9 first. We're going to be broadcasting a tennis match, Brockway versus Punxsutawney from Brockway. Really looking forward to that. And then on Friday night, we're going to do a football game. Well, we're not going to have necessarily a weekly football package, but we will do some football broadcasts when the situation arises that make it great. We're going to be doing Montauk versus Carn City from Montauk High School, big rivalry game. And then it looks like on Saturday, we're going to have the Keystone versus Sheffield game from Sheffield. So some real exciting news that we're going to get back to live sports, and we're going to get to watch some live sports next week and be able to bring some of those live sports to those fans who can't get to the games and so forth. So really looking excited for that. And really a special shout out to Steve Buttery and Johnny Stoughton. Steve's the Booster Club president of Brockway Tennis. John's the athletic director at Montauk. Both of those guys have been really instrumental in helping us get started so far with that stuff.
Yeah, a big thank you. And we've talked about this ad nauseum, I feel like, but a big thank you to the athletic directors who are working with us. This isn't an ideal situation for anyone, and they're making it. They've been throughout this whole process, been very accommodating, very helpful to us, and we're just very, like you said, not only very excited, but very appreciative of all their efforts as well.
Hey, Andy, next week we're going to have to figure out a different day to do in between the lines, because it's going to be a football Friday night.
Friday. Can't wait.
And I have all kinds of stuff on the websites, previews, predictions. We've got plans for a live scoreboard. So, folks, there's going to be a lot of exciting stuff that you can deal with here on D9and10Sports.com when it comes to football. And we'll continue the great coverage of other sports as we've already started here in the last week or so. So really looking forward to just continuing to be your go-to source for athletics in both District 9 and District 10. Once again, in between the lines, being brought to you by the Rehab Center, also by the Computer Guru and All-American Awards and Engraving. The Rehab Center has 6 locations, including in Brookville and Clarion and Katanning. Call them today for an appointment at 724 478-1501. Check them out online at therehabcenters.com. That's centers with an RES at the end, the old English spelling. Also, All-American Awards and Engraving. Check them out online at allamericanhq.com. And the Computer Guru in Leaper. Give them a call today at 744-7580. That's 744-7580. Hey, Andy, until next week, you guys out there in District 9 and District 10 land, you have a good week and get really excited because next week we've got high school football. And the following week, we're going to add soccer, volleyball, cross country to the mix as well. We've already got tennis and golf going on. So getting back to a little bit of normalcy.
Can't wait. It's going to be an exciting time. Like Chris said, check out all the amazing stuff we have going on the site, and we're going to continue to provide that for you, and got some new things for you as well. So, guys, be good. We're excited. We hope you are too.
Yep. Until next week, District 9 and District 10 land. This is Chris Rossetti for Andy Close signing off.